right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
What a difference a day makes. 3 more to come if we win the midterms. If we don't win the midterms, Donald Trump will resign and make Vance president. We're going to talk about the midterms in a minute. But before we do, I just want to go back to the moment last year when Donald Trump won and the 4 years that preceded that we all experienced together. Today I was in the car. We had mailed a book to somebody, my latest book, The Great American Gaslight. And we had mailed it to someone, and evidently we had the wrong address. And it came back in the mail when I went to the mailbox. I picked it up. I was sitting at the bank, just wasting time. So I said, I'd just pick it up and read it. The Great American Gaslight. When America was gaslit, a remnant refused to bow. And why Joe Biden will never be a legitimate president. And I opened it. It's a beautiful hardback book. It's actually a limited edition, numbered and signed, which you can get your own copy at the QR code there, or you can go to thefakepresident.org and get your copy. But I'm going to be honest with you, I've never read my own book. And so I was sitting there and I just started flipping through the pages. I read the acknowledgments, and then I got to this page here, and I just had a feeling come back. It was a good feeling. And then the next page, all these wonderful moments during those 4 years that Professor Toto experienced. It was a special time in America. It was something that I'll never really forget. And I want to talk to you about it. As I was looking at the photos, I wasn't looking at headlines. I was looking at faces. One like this, faces. At airports, when I would get there at dawn and walking all through the airport, fellow patriots crying, my name out, Professor Toto. So many faces, strangers becoming brothers, literally. We gathered in barns, we gathered in auditoriums all over the nation, from the east to the west. There was a feeling I can't explain during that time. We literally became family. I saw smiles on these faces that I've not seen in years. It was the real deal. People would put a hand on your shoulder and you knew they were saying, I've got your back. We're in this together. Everywhere we went, it was family. People you had never met, never shared a Thanksgiving with, you never borrowed their lawnmower, but they were acting like they had known you their whole lives. Something was different. It wasn't politics. It was a feeling that we were family. We were family. We were united. Not because we were all identical, because the Lord knows we weren't. We had truckers standing next to lawyers. We had farmers standing next to tech workers. First-time voters were standing next to grandmothers who had seen 12 presidents come and go, but we were focused. There was a singleness in the air, a solidarity you could feel. Before anyone ever spoke a word, you could feel that solidarity. It was everywhere. I remember you walked into those rallies and the hair stood up on your arms, not from the cold, even though there were some cold ones, but from the presence of something bigger than yourself is the only way I can explain it. You were walking in something. It felt like you were standing inside of history while history was still warm. You were part of it. You just knew you were standing in sacred spaces and in sacred moments. And as I sat there today looking at these pictures, my phone was glowing and ringing, and I kept turning it off because I was caught up in a moment that I didn't want to leave. I asked myself a question. Why did it work? What made that moment what it was? And then I compared it to where we are now, a year later. Why does it feel so fractured now? Why have those smiles disappeared from people's faces? What happened? And I realized it wasn't because of corruption. It's not because of corruption. And it's not that people just got stupid or sold out or forgot who they were. I wish that was the answer, but that's not the answer. But something is different. Everybody's turning on everybody. There's a difference. What you're looking at right there does not exist anymore. That moment that you and I lived in is now part of the pages of history. But the feeling will never be history for me. There's my good friend Gino Young and his brother, and my good friend from Louisiana standing there. What memories, what moments we lived together. But I did figure out the problem. I did figure it out. I'm going to share it with you tonight. Back then, in those airport terminals, county fairgrounds, overflowing parking lots, we had all laid down personal ambition just for a season. We had all fixed our eyes on one leader, not because we worshiped him. We're not a cult. We never were. We never believed he was a perfect man. We never believed he was an invincible man. But because unity requires a center, you can never create a wheel without a hub. You can never go forward without a wheel. And you can never have a wheel unless spokes are tied to the center. And for the first time, all of our spokes was tied. We just wanted the car to go forward. We knew we needed a focal point for movement. We needed a hub. We didn't need a mob going in 12 different directions. The moment that I lived through only existed because we had all agreed to follow a leader. Every one of us laid down ambition and picked up the mission. Even those that didn't agree, from different religions, different backgrounds, but we had found a leader, a hub, and you could feel it. It was beautiful. It really was. It was a beautiful moment for our movement. The Bible tells us in Psalms 133 how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It made us alive. There was an aliveness at that time that is not there today because success came. That's right. Donald Trump won. Success came. And with success always comes comfort. And with comfort always comes ego. Everyone started seeing themselves as the movement. Everybody wanted their own banner, their own lane, their own theory, their own podcast, their own brand, their own following. Do you know why? Joe Rogan and all those that were so pro-Trump in the beginning, do you know why they had to move Donald Trump out of the limelight? Because it was time for them to shine. To do that, you got to get rid of the leader so we can find a new leader. That's not freedom. That's fragmentation. Still standing in those memories like I was today, still holding my phone, my book, still looking at faces that believed in something together. Here comes the question of our time. It's not a theoretical question, not a philosophical one that you can debate about, but a practical one. How are we going to win the midterms? The answer is not hard. We don't need to hire think tanks or pollsters because our side is natural winners. We win. We've proven it. I was talking to my son today and he said, Dad, do you remember when we took everything, the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the popular vote? MAGA is a winning team. We won in 2020, 2024, 2016. We know how to win. We are winners, but only when we have a leader and when we respect and follow that leader. You don't need to listen to another podcaster with 8 subscribers and a conspiracy theory about everything. It doesn't come from splinter movements. It doesn't come from following Margie and all these folks that are leaving Donald Trump. There is a reason that this picture, you see that picture? It's never left my shoulder because I know whose shoulders I stand on. I'm not like most people that thinks I can do it on my own. I know when you follow a blessed man, you can't help but be blessed. I've been Donald Trump from day one. You've never tuned into one podcast and not heard me lift up Donald Trump. You know why? I know what made that moment that we lived through. We were all willing to be followers. And when we all are willing to become followers, we create a forward movement. The answer to winning the midterms, because everybody wants to know how to do it. The answer in winning the midterms, I just showed you the answer. I'll show you again the answer to winning the midterms. It's not difficult. You got to create this again. You got to create a family out of black and white, rich and poor. You got to create a family out of Pentecostals and Baptists and Catholics and Jehovah's Witnesses and Yahweh's assemblies. And yeah, there's 2 preachers right there that are worlds apart doctrinally, but we brought a world together. Oh yeah. Here's 2 podcasters that talks about 2 total different things. But when we was talking about Trump, we locked arms. That's how we won. My fellow Americans, please quit trying to find out how to win the midterms. Just go back to the pattern. Just go back to what works. We didn't win in 2016 because we had 1,000 different voices that we listened to. We won because we had alignment. We had focus. We had a center of gravity, and it held the whole thing together. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 29 and 18, where there is no vision, the people will perish. What's happening with MAGA right now, there is no singular vision. Because to have a single vision, you got to have a single leader. And everybody's got to know he's in charge, and you got to let him lead. His vision will bring blessings because vision demands focus, and focus demands a leader. So here's your science lesson for the day. Sunlight scattered warms nothing. A sunny day feels nice, but sunlight focused through a single lens will cut steel. See, you scatter all the sunlight, you keep the earth a little warm, lukewarm, but if you want it to cut steel, focus it through a single lens. That's not emotions, that's physics. And that's what we did. For 8 years, we focused through a single lens. His name was Donald Trump. Anytime you follow a man, you're a cult. Because we were willing to follow, we changed the trajectory of a nation. I would rather follow a leader than get lost with a crowd. Because what you've got on YouTube right now is a crowd. Everybody's talking about their own agenda. My agenda, as Professor Toto, from the first time I took this mic, was Donald Trump. Somebody said, well, you ought to talk about Jesus. Well, you ought to come to my Bible studies on Friday nights and you wouldn't hear anything about Trump. You'd hear about Jesus. But this is my political podcast. And what you don't realize, I'm talking about God when I talk about the government he's installed. I give honor to God when I give honor to a parent when I brag on that parent's child. I don't have to mention the parent. You watch me brag on that parent's child. That's me honoring the parent. Oh, foolish people, the way they talk. And they don't understand what made us great is what's breaking us now. Because we have forgotten the winning pattern. And there is a winning pattern. And whether it offends your modern sensibilities or not, whether it makes the purity crowd uncomfortable, because I'm talking about following a man, remember the axis of our movement was Donald Trump. President Trump is not the movement, he's the axis, he's the hub of the wheel. He is the center that holds it all together. The moment you forget the center of what built it, your little wheel falls apart and you can lay there in the desert going nowhere screaming about how you don't follow a man. Scatter, everybody scatter, start 30 different political movements with 30 different pastors or podcasters and scream, you're free. You're a fool. You're not free. You're not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. MAGA, that train ain't going nowhere. Those of you that's jumped over on the Joe Rogan train and the Steve Bannon train, I'm going to tell you something. You're the reason we won't win the midterms if we don't win, because you've forgotten the pattern. There is one pattern, one success. You don't win midterms by diffusing energy across 17 different camps, by questioning Donald Trump, everything he does. You don't win by everybody freelancing like they're auditioning for their own show. Donald Trump gave me this show. I'm not a fool. If there's one thing my grandmother taught me, when you see a leader, you support him. Donald Trump gave me this podcast. Oh no, God gave it to you. Would you please stop that before you make me sick? God gave it. Of course, God gave it to me. But I tell you what else God did today. He sent mail to my house. He sent a check. I went to the mailbox today and picked up bags full of checks. Now, am I supposed to say God sent them to me? Of course he did, but he didn't send one up. Same way when you tell me God gave me this podcast. Yes, he did. But it was Donald Trump that gave it to me. And I'm not going to be a fool. I know the winning ticket to the midterms. His name's Donald Trump. And every one of you watching me that's been seduced by Candace and seduced by everybody, listen to me. You're going to cause us to lose the midterms if you do not come back to the center of this wheel. We don't win by chasing wild theories instead of a shared direction. We don't win by building brands while the house burns down. No, I'm not sitting here misty-eyed for the good old days like some retired quarterback watching game film. I'm giving you instructions for the future, and you think it's nostalgia. Those pictures I just shared was not memories of the past. They were blueprints for the future. And this is my call for all of you tonight, spoken from inside that moment, not outside of it, but inside, not from some perch of superiority, but from the trenches. I've been in them, from the same parking lots and fairgrounds and hotel lobbies where I stood shoulder to shoulder with people I had never met, but I would have trusted them with my life. To those of you that's wondered, come back. To those who thought a new movement could replace alignment, it can't. God always raises up one man. Anything with more than one head is a freak. To Marjorie Taylor Greene, to Candace, to every patriot who got so busy being a star that they forgot what it felt like to be family. Come back home. Lay down the ambition. Drop the side quest. Pick up the mission. Because without a true leader, there is no direction. Without a center, there's no circle. Without alignment, there's no army. Just a bunch of individuals shouting into the void while the left marches in lockstep towards everything we swore we would stop. But united, focused, and aligned, we don't just remember the past. We win the midterms. And then we can say, 1 down, 3 to go. Right? Wherever you've wandered off to, I'm calling you tonight. Wherever you have gone, whatever you have done, whoever you have followed, I'm calling you to come back home because it's time.
You can't find it in a bottle. The joy I found on Calvary's. You can't find it in a club or a honky-tonk bar. You'll only find it on your knees, crying, help me, Lord. Return back home, down that long road, where the Father is waiting. Come back home, be baptized in His name. You'll only fail chasing joy down a broken trail. You'll search high and low, but at the end of the road that leads home, return back home from that long road where you roam. The Father is waiting, be baptized in His name. Back home from that long road where you roam. The Father is waiting, be baptized